But yeah, basically just do 5 minutes time.
Yeah.
All right, we're here at Geoffrey. Alright, we're here at Geoffrey's for their 33rd anniversary party, and we have a guest here, Mr. Brian Buccellato of Flash fame, among other things. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about, you know, the other stuff under your belt?
Like my other credits?
Yeah.
I don't have a lot in terms of writing. I wrote a Darkness issue back in 2004, 2005. I wrote some Witchblade manga stuff for Top Cow. Most of my writing is in the more the screenwriting. I work for a director, so that's where my writing comes from. And I've colored comics though for like 16 years. So I mean, I've colored Generation X. I've colored X-Men, Wolverine. I've colored for Top Cow, Witchblade, Darkness. I mean, I've colored pretty much every book at one time or another, so I've been coloring a long time.
And with a book, you know, you're on Flash now.
Absolutely.
With a book like Flash, the art, specifically in this one, is very kinetic.
So be sure everyone's.
Do you ever? I know reading it, my heart races. You know, while I'm reading, I'm looking at all these pictures.
Right.
But coloring, do you get that same effect or something?
You know, well, I mean, it's the thing is, Francis and I work together, so it's kinetic because there's no disconnect between the writing and the art. You know, we come up with the story together, we write it together. He draws it, I color it. It's very seamless. So there's really not there's not any misstep or any misinterpretation, which can sometimes happen when an artist is interpreting another writer's work. So we don't have that. So I think that's one of the reasons why it works so well together. And as far as it being kinetic, it's just, you know, it's the Flash. He's got to move forward. I mean, in the very first issue, you know, there's an anecdote from his mom where his mom's saying, you know, just keep pressing forward, move forward, and that's kind of how we feel about the Flash. You know, we came off Flashpoint where there was a lot of, you know, the universe changed based on him, and you know, it was really heavy, and he had to go through, you know, quite a bit, you know, like emotionally to get over his mom. So we just wanted to say, you know what, all that happened, and it's made him the person who he is. And even though he doesn't really remember all that happened, he's okay. He's at peace, so he can move forward. So that's what he's going to do. He puts his head down and he keeps going.
Nice. Now, you know, going into a creative field as a career, what did your parents tell you when you decided? You told them, Mom, Dad,
well, actually, I mean, for me, it was a different situation. My brother, he got an internship at Marvel in the 80s, and so he came up in comics. He never had another job. And so in the early 90s, he started a coloring studio called Electric Crayon. So I was back in New York, because I'm from New York, and I was doing nothing with my life. I was, you know, out of college and just doing nothing. So he's like, hey, come to LA and I'll teach you how to color comic books. And I was like, all right. So I learned how to color from him, and I've been coloring to make a living ever since. I mean, it's really flowed.
You learned how to color later in life?
Well, I mean, I went to an art high school. I went to art and design high school, which in New York they have these vocational high schools, you know, like Fame School for singing and dancing. Well, you know, there's ones for art. So I got accepted to one of those. And so I learned, you know, some skills. And then my brother basically completed my training because he had been doing it. So he's like, you know, it was right at the beginning of, it was at the very beginning of digital coloring. You know, digital coloring was very, you know, came late in the game. 1994 is when I started. So things have changed. You know, coloring was really difficult back then because of the technology. Now it's so much easier, you know, to color.
I've read those Black Costume Saga books with the blue Sharpie mark. Like, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So that's, you know, my journey is a little bit different than other people's journey. Like for somebody else breaking into comics now, I think, you know, as an artist or as a, you know, as an artist, you just keep drawing and you keep drawing and you go to as many comic conventions as you can and you show your work to whoever you can and you learn that it's okay if people say no, you know, because you're going to get rejected and you're going to get rejected, and then when you're ready, when you learn how to draw cars, when you've learned how to draw things from different angles, when you've learned how to draw women, men, close-ups, feet, hands, when you're ready, you know, somebody will take a chance on you. And from the writing side, I think you got to put out your own comic. I think no one's going to take you seriously unless you have something to give them, and not like a pitch. I'm talking a comic that's printed, even if it's printed by you and your buddies, and you only did like 500 copies. At least you have something you can show them and say, hey, I can write.
So in writing something like a script and a movie script, is there any kind of hurdles or differences that come into play?
Well, I mean, it's just a totally different animal. I mean, when you're writing a film script, really you're only writing what's on the screen. You know, you don't write intent. You don't really narrate. You know, like they say, writing voiceover in film is sloppy and it's cheap. So you know, I personally stay away from voiceover. So if you'll notice, when I do my writing, I don't do as much narration as other people, and sometimes I'm asked to put more to explain things because I'm so used to not doing that. So I think that's one of the main differences. And then of course the comic medium is different. You're writing for static images, so you can take chances. You can take that into account as soon as, you know, while you're coming up with the story. Oh, I'm going to have this big shot of an airplane coming down on the bridge. You know, you can think in terms that you know, you really don't need to think when you're doing a screenplay, because a director and a cinematographer and a stunt coordinator, all those guys are going to figure all that stuff out, so you don't worry about it. You know.
So, how's your experience writing The Flash? I mean, you're co-writer now with Francis Manapul.
Right.
Do you guys ever like butt heads on ideas or anything like that?
Oddly, we very rarely butt heads. We're very similar in terms of what we think is cool. You know, I mean, I think I come from more character side, emotional side. He may be a little bit more like visual, but he also has these big concepts and these overarching ideas that he has. So, you know, we sort of pass the baton back and forth a lot. So we really don't have much. Like, I don't remember a single conversation where we were at an impasse where I was like, no, and he was like, no. You know, we were like, you know, we flow.
Well, sounds like a great combination. Brian Buccellato, everybody. Sorry, I fucked that up.
That's okay. No worries.
I'm gonna put that in the. Thanks a lot.